Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest on the live radar, run through the UKV and have a look at the precipitation and the temperature to do with this weather front that is moving southwards and eastwards over the next 24 hours or so, eventually very slowly clearing the far southeast through Friday evening into early hours of Saturday. Then we're all into a much fresher North Atlantic air mass, potentially giving some cooler conditions over the weekend before we see some very interesting conditions that we have alluded to over the past few days. Through Monday to maybe Thursday or even Friday next week, where we see a proper northerly shot with a very cold air mass moving through between 5 and 10 degrees below average at 850 HPA for this time of year. So it is really quite cold, and yeah, we would be seeing some very cold overnight temperatures in the daytime. It won't be too bad as we are still in September, but daytime highs could be in the low teens, maybe mid-teens max. But we'll have quite a severe wind chill as well, making those temperatures feel more like 5, 6 or 7 degrees out there. So yeah, it could be really quite cold indeed for that period. And yeah, that will be coming through on Mondays, bringing some precipitation through as well, and a lot of showers. We could even see some snow over the higher ground. So we'll have a look at that in more detail on the GFS, GM, ECMWF and the Ensembles, looking at the mid to long range as well, as this northerly wind won't last forever. As we head into October, it does look likely perhaps we will trend back towards average conditions, but it still does look generally westerly dominated with unsettled weather. Could still see bursts of warmth with some warmer air masses still in the mid-Atlantic, but no settled, warm or hot Indian summer type patterns look likely. Perhaps brief bursts of one day warmth here or there, maybe 20 degrees or so. But I'm not expecting anything real sustained, and it does look very changeable as well. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well. The link's in the description. So to start on the live radar, you can see we've got this big weather front over the top of us at the moment, and it's spreading slowly southward and eastwards, giving some heavier precipitation across Wales, northwest England to northeast England as well, and it is spreading into the Midlands over the next few hours. Again, it will break up and become lighter as it spreads southwards and eastwards, but still will give precipitation in quite a few areas in the far southeast, perhaps East Anglia, Essex, Kent, maybe even into the London area through Friday and Saturday. Could really be quite sustained precipitation there, with it sort of lingering into Friday evening and Saturday. We'll have a look at that on the UKV in a minute, and it looks like we could see quite a number of hours of precipitation. Not expecting anything too crazy in terms of intensity, but moderate precipitation could be falling for a number of hours, and we could see rainfall totals tot up quite a bit. And it is good because the southeast has been the driest area this summer so far. Yes, we did see some big thunderstorms, especially through August and September so far, but we have had well below average through the summer in the southeast, so it'll be good to get some proper persistent rainfall there, which at the last sort of month or so has lingered more towards the north and west. So this will spread southward and eastwards, and at the moment to the east of it, it is slightly warmer than average. Behind it is slightly colder than average. So we are around 18 to 20 degrees ahead of it and around 15 degrees behind it. So not a massive temperature change, but you will feel it out there. Will be a slightly chillier behind it, and still could be a little bit warmer ahead of it down in the south and east. But it will be turning chillier widely over the next sort of 24 hours or so. Now, recording this around 4 PM, and you can see, head of the weather front, you can see more yellows and oranges here, showing temperatures rising to around that 18 to 20 degree mark. Under the precipitation, it is quite chilly, actually. Temperatures really hovering around the low teens, and behind it, temperatures are still cooler than they are ahead of the weather front, but they are not too bad, more likely mid-teens, maybe 16 or 17 degrees in a few spots, so a few degrees temperature drop, but nothing too crazy, just a bit of a chill to the air with a little bit of a wind chill there with a northwesterly flow. But this precipitation will be spreading through, as this cooler than average air will be spreading into all areas, and we could see some cold overnight conditions and some chillier days before some real chill comes in early next week. So if you go over to the UKV and have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, you can see that precipitation heading in at the moment, spreading slowly south and eastwards, turning a bit more patchy and losing its intensity through the evening into tomorrow, turning into a bit of a line of light rain with some moderate bursts here or there through the early hours of Friday, heading into the southeast. Now, it looks like it's going to clear the southeast by sort of lunchtime, but look, through the afternoon, it sort of lingers, and some showers, some heavier bursts, some moderate bursts in there, just lingers all the way through Friday in the day, all the way into the evening, for eventually clearing through the early hours of Saturday into around Saturday lunchtime, maybe even to the early afternoon. So some areas, like Kent, right on the coast there, could see a good 24 hours of on and off rain there. So yeah, it could be quite miserable down there. But behind it, it is a fresher air mass, a few showers around, but it shouldn't be too bad in terms of dryness and sunshine. But you can see some thicker cloud and some precipitation heading to the north through Sunday afternoon, and that is the cold front that is spreading in, giving some heavy precipitation for a time, perhaps a small squall line along it, before eventually slowly spreading through, and we will be seeing much more unsettled conditions as it eventually clears to the south, and we all go into that fresher air mass. And you can see the actual precipitation does eventually disappear over about mid-morning on Monday, and we're all into this fresher air mass, a bit of snow over the highlands of Scotland, and we are all into this fresher air mass with heavy showers potentially along the northeast coast with strong gusty winds. Will give a chill to the air. Temperatures could feel like high single digits, which is really cold for this time of year, and just widely it will be chilly. Now, if you look at the upper air temperatures, you can see we are well below average. Some areas in Scotland reaching -4 and -5 at 850 HP, and that's the winter threshold really for snow. So that's likely to see some snow over the higher ground. To ground levels, most likely will just be rain showers, and we could see frost, so where we have clearer skies. So yeah, really cold air mass there. And you have a look at the dew points as well, getting towards freezing as well, just showing how cold, dry this air mass is, especially in Scotland and northern England, around freezing or below freezing, just showing you how cold this air really is and where it's originated from. And this means that precipitation in these areas with dew points below freezing, we do get some very heavy precipitation, a bit of evaporative cooling. Overnight, perhaps, we could see some wintry mixes in some of these showers, especially over the high ground. Those temperatures do drop to the mid to low single digits, if not towards freezing. Now, if you also have a look at the wind gusts, you can see, as we head through early hours of Tuesday, very strong wind gusts over the higher ground and especially along the east coast, 30, 40 miles per hour. Again, the actual wind gusts are not going to be the issue, but it's the wind gusts making the temperatures feel a lot colder than they are. We'll have a look at the feel-like temperature from the GFS in a minute. But if we do finish with the UKV and have a look at the max temperatures, you can see that this afternoon temperatures 20 degrees perhaps ahead of the weather front, more likely 16, 17 behind it, and under it around like sort of 12 to 14 degrees. So not particularly nice. Overnight tonight temperatures are not too bad. To the south and east, further north and westwards maybe only 7, 8, 9 degrees. Again, that's not too cold, but it is still a chill to the air, but it is nothing compared to what we will probably see next week, where temperatures most likely in places will be 5 degrees colder than this. And through Friday afternoon, you can see temperatures potentially still rising to 19, 20 degrees in the south, maybe towards Bristol area, but more widely mid-teens. And overnight Friday into Saturday, you can still much fresher, all areas potentially dropping towards 10 degrees or cold, in some areas even down sort of 3 or 4 degrees, and through Saturday afternoon, again, could see 18 or 19 degrees, but not much more widely mid-teens, some areas further northwards, low teens, maybe high teens in the south, and into Sunday, early hours, widely quite a cold night, maybe hovering above 10 degrees on the coast, but most inland areas mid to high single digits, some areas even colder than that, maybe only 1 or 2 degrees in some sheltered inland areas. And through Sunday afternoon, still 16 to 18 degrees, but it will be turning much colder through Monday. See, through Monday afternoon, we see that weather front spreading through. The far south could hang on to 18, 19, but much further northwards, high single digits to low teens. And overnight into Tuesday, you can see that real cold air now established over Scotland, widely mid to low single digits, and that will be spreading even more widespread through Tuesday and Wednesday, where at the moment, at early hours of Tuesday, it is still maybe high single digits, but will still feel pretty chilly there. Now, if you have a look at the wind chill, this is from Pivotal Weather, never been on this website before, but they do show wind chill from the GFS model. This is 3 a.m. on Tuesday, so when we saw those 2 meters temperatures there, showing some 9, 10 degrees in the south and around mid to low single digits in the north, this is the wind chill value. When you add on the strength of that wind, you can see many areas, even into southern England, feel like temperatures around 3 or 4 degrees. Some areas further northwards, where it's still sort of 5, 6, 7 degrees, no chance of really any frost or anything, feel like temperatures could be close to freezing over the high ground of Scotland, feeling perhaps as low as -5 over the higher ground. So this just gives you an example that those feel like temperatures could be as much as 5 degrees below the actual temperature. And that's why when we look at the thermometer and we see 15 degrees in the day, it doesn't seem too bad. But when you add on the wind chill, it's going to feel cold. It's going to feel more like 9 or 10 degrees, but again, doesn't feel too bad. But we are coming out of a very hot summer. We've had pretty much prolonged 20-degree plus in some areas for 3 or 4 months now. So 10-degree feel-like temperature in the day is going to be a real shock to the system. So yeah, do make sure you keep an eye on the forecast. If you have got plans, especially on Monday in the north and through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday more widely, do keep an eye on the forecast and do make sure that you have hats, coats, gloves, especially hats and gloves if you're out early in the morning or late at night, because it is going to feel cold. So if we do now go over to the GFS and see what that is showing over the next couple of weeks, and you can see we are in a slightly milder wedge of air at the moment, but we've got that colder air spreading in behind. And again, nothing too exceptional, but slightly below average. We can see Hurricane Fiona there moving into Nova Scotia, up into the northeast of Canada, and that brings big amplification in the jet stream, and we see a plunging northerly flow for the UK. Very cold air mass moves in. Yes, the air mass warms up quite rapidly by sort of Wednesday, Thursday time, but the feel-like temperature is still going to be cold, and the surface conditions are going to still be cold, even though the upper air temperatures do recover. It is still below average, just not quite as cold as initially through Monday and Tuesday. By the end of the working week, we do eventually see some slightly warmer air masses move in around the high, but we are still in a north or northwesterly flow, so it is still chilly, and by next weekend perhaps some milder air masses moving in, and there are signs of temperatures returning more towards average. But from the looks of this, it's, yeah, average temperatures returning, but it's with big low pressure systems, so most likely won't actually be that warm at the surface, because those conditions would be accompanied by some heavy precipitation, a lot of weather fronts moving in as well. So northerly wind looks like it could depart perhaps in around a week's time, next Thursday, Friday time, before we go into more of a westerly phase with, yes, milder air masses, potentially even 20 degrees here or there on the odd day, but also some very heavy precipitation that could give a lot of rain in some places and some windy weather as well, with some of these lows really picking up as well. Now, if you run it back into the northerly wind, just so you have a look at the potential equivalent temperature, once again, you can see these darker blues moving through, just showing how cold the air mass is. And even after that, when the air warms up, you can see it still is in these blues, showing the potential temperature is still really quite cold. It's still a very cold air mass before eventually we see some alternating milder and colder air masses with the low pressure systems. If we do have a look at the temperature deviation, you can see, even though initially when that cold front comes through, it's around 6 to 8 degrees below average, and it warms up, but then it's around 2 to 4 degrees below average. So still very chilly, and eventually we see some milder air perhaps in 10 days' time pushing through with lower pressure. So yeah, it does warm up gradually, but it's still well below average and still is a very cold air mass, producing wind chill, heavy showers, maybe some winteriness over the high ground in Scotland, and just generally quite a cold autumnal feel. Big contrast to what we've had over the last couple of weeks. Yes, we saw a cooler northerly wind this time last week, but before that we've seen plenty of mid-20s days, and those are things of the past now, it looks like, or at least until April, May next year, unfortunately. So if you go over to the GEM and have a look at that showing over the next 10 days. Now, unfortunately, it's only loaded to 7 days. We can only have the 7-day time frame, but you can see a westerly flow at the moment. Big amplification because of that hurricane into Nova Scotia and Canada, northerly flows, some very chilly air masses, and again, you see the low pressure spiralling around, giving us cool, unsettled conditions for the upper air temperatures, generally around freezing, maybe slightly higher in the south, but still, look at the temperature deviation, it is well below average. Initially, very far below average, 6 to 8 degrees below average, or more like 2 to 4 degrees below average. So yes, chilly, staying persistently chilly for a number of days, and yeah, going to feel real cold out there next week. So as I said, make sure you take the necessary precautions if you are spending time outside. Now, for the last sort of mid to long range model, if we look at the ECMWF, see what that's showing over the next 10 days or so. Again, northerly wind coming in next week, real quite potent northerly wind, real direct northerly here, a bit more direct than even the GFS and the GEM was going for. Eventually, though, it does topple and we go into a westerly flow. Yes, high pressure pushed slightly further northwards here, so actually for the upper air temperatures, we're in quite a warm air mass, mid-Atlantic air mass, so it would actually feel warm at the surface, or at least humid and sort of hints of summer-like conditions with those upper air temperatures recovering above average. but it's accompanied by lower pressure, strong westerly flow, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's only lasted a day or two, and that high pressure gets pushed out of the way by these developing lows in the mid-Atlantic, getting this cold air out of Greenland, combining with the warm air in the mid-Atlantic. So yes, temporarily warm at day 10 with some higher pressure, but I do expect to get pushed away very quickly with a more unsettled westerly flow dominating in the longer term. If you look at the temperature deviation, you can see it is slightly above average there, but before that, you can see it is really quite chilly. Well, darker blues pushing through 6 to 8 degrees below average, maybe even 10 degrees below average in some areas. Really quite cold indeed. Now, if you finish by having a look at the ensembles, now these are the GFS ensembles, the 6 o'clock run today. You can see we are slightly above average over the next maybe 12 hours or so ahead of the weather front before we plunge below average and stay below average, perhaps for as much as 10 days, all the way through the first couple of days of October. So yeah, well below average, and at times potentially even as much as 10 degrees below average, getting down to maybe -1, 2, maybe 3 degrees at 850 HPA, with some sporadic precipitation. Again, no crazy precipitation spikes here, but a lot of precipitation with this low pressure behind that initial cold front will be convection based, but again, it's difficult for the ensemble members to forecast it and to pick up on a lot of it. But in the longer term, still looks generally unsettled, but those temperatures do return more towards average. Again, maybe signs of slightly above average with a westerly flow, but again, above average upper air temperatures with a westerly flow with a lot of low pressure. At the surface, it probably actually won't feel too much above average and will feel not particularly nice with a lot of heavy rain and cloud moving in. But perhaps signs more of a westerly flow instead of more of a northerly flow, which looks likely in the next few days. Again, another thing to look at is the dew points. You can see really dropping next week down to sort of 3 or 4 degrees. Again, doesn't sound amazingly cold, but this is London, southern England, so that is a very low dew point for this time of year. And again, if we look to somewhere over the Highlands of Scotland, it most likely will be well below freezing, which is really cold. Longer term does recover a bit, maybe towards 8 degrees, 9 degrees or so. But once again, there is a lot of scatter. And if you look at the 2-meter temperatures, you can see next week widely sort of 13 to 15 degree highs again. All depend on cloud amounts, and of course the wind chill will make it feel a good 3 to 5 degrees, potentially cooler than that. And the overnight temperatures won't be done well here because, of course, low resolution, not picking up on we're not picking up on the radiation that does exit through the night, and of course doesn't always pick up on those lows too well, which is pretty well known within the ensemble members. So it could be a good few degrees colder. This could even get low as maybe 4 or 5 degrees in London, and maybe rurally a degree or two colder than that, and especially further northwards as well. Now, if we do finish by having a look at the ECMWF ensembles, look at the midnight run. Again, very similar to the GFS, slightly above average for the next 12 hours or so before dropping well below average all the way to around the 1st, 2nd or 3rd of October. Then the trend is slightly above average, still looking very unsettled though. So again, even though the upper air temperatures do recover and do get above average, I do suspect it will still not be particularly nice at the surface if we do maintain this unsettled theme. So yeah, ECMWF ensembles, very much similar, and again, the average potentially, also the average on the ensemble members here getting a good 7, 8 to 9 degrees potentially below average, getting down to maybe -1, -2 degrees at 850 HPA in around 5 days' time or so. So we'll have to see exactly what happens, but it is looking continually very chilly next week. Does look likely, though, in the longer term, perhaps day 10 to day 14 time frame, we stay unsettled, but more of a westerly flow, so it's not quite as cold and quite as chilly, not as much wind chill out there with the feel-like temperature, but it will still not be particularly nice if we do see some big precipitation bands, big low-pressure systems moving in the longer term. So it does look likely that autumn has properly arrived. We have been holding on to some summer warmth over the last couple of weeks, some nice warm summer days, 25 degrees, 26, 27, seen in London only a week or two ago, but it does look like proper autumn has arrived, below average upper air temperatures, and a more unsettled west to northerly sort of theme. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.